All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this International Women's Day. And today we have the pleasure to interview our guest speaker, and we have Tina with us. She is an online fitness business owner. She's a global news fitness expert, and she's also a former writer for Weight Watchers. Tina, welcome here
Thanks,
today.
Marina. Thank you for having me. Hello, everybody.
Yes, I am so, first of all, happy and honored to have you here. And I met you quite a few years ago. And honestly, I was just so impressed with your energy, your vibration, and also your body says it all. Like you are, an example of your craft, of your work.
Thank you.
You've been in the industry for a long time now, and you're one of the original people that actually started the boot camps.
Yeah, it's been actually, I'm 45 now. So, it was in my 20s that I actually just got into training. Then I decided that I was doing some personal training and I wanted to help a lot more people on a grander scale. So that's when I opened up a boot camp. And that's going back many, many, many years ago before it ever was a big thing here in Montreal. And then I transitioned into online, which was a bit of like a hesitation at first. I was probably stuck on that idea for about a year because I didn't know how people would receive it back then when it was not as popular as online is now. But yeah, that was my journey, and it's been amazing, actually, really amazing.
Nice. It's beautiful to see the transition that you are evolving with the industry.
Yeah.
Tell me about what was your first like personal motivation for a boot camp? Why start a boot camp back then?
Oh man. Well, to be honest with you, when I first got into personal training, years ago, I was engaged to be married, and he called the wedding off about 2.5 months before the wedding. So at the time, it was so painful for me back then. Now I'm able to we're actually friends now. But back then it was so incredibly painful, and I needed to focus on something other than myself and try to get, help people or do something that was going to take this pain away. And it originally started out by speaking to some really, really, popular people in California that own some boot camps, and they planted this seed in my mind about starting a boot camp. And I had started it out in Montreal, and it started out pretty small. And then I ended up bringing a partner in, and we ended up just growing it to this major company, I guess you could say, in Montreal, where we had a lot of different boot camps running throughout the city. And that for me was an extremely healing experience in a lot of ways, because obviously it allowed me to focus on others rather than myself and my pain. But it also was really I'd say the big stepping stone for me to take some fearless leaps in my life, because, I loved training people, but I had very, very minimal knowledge about training groups of people. I was also really shy. People might not know that about me now, but I was really an introvert. I was really kind of insecure about how people would perceive me if I stood up in front of a group. So yeah, that's how it all started for me.
I would have never said that you were an introvert.
Yeah.
You have this really interesting philosophy that we talked about, and that's why one of the reasons that I'm really happy that you are on the summit with us today is how you connect the emotions, the mind to the body and the weight. You don't see them as separate. So let's see some of maybe the cases that you deal with, how people can struggle with either weight loss or just finding that best shape for them, or struggle with some kind of disease or something that's
Yeah. There's so many stories. If I can just bring you back to many, many years ago, no names or anything mentioned, but on more than one occasion, people have approached me in terms of wanting to do boot camp. Pretty pink dress there, Marina. I see a pink dress in your picture. There you go. It was like, I think like a dress though.
Hello.
But yeah, so, people would approach me, and they would originally approach me with, I want to lose weight, or I want to lose my belly, or I got to lose this body fat. It was always the same thing, because whenever you're doing a boot camp, or in my case now with my online training more specifically, people always think that it's about the physical weight. And yes, it is about the physical weight, because nobody wants to be overweight and unhealthy. But at the same time, what I discovered in conversations with these people is I realized a lot of them were sort of, they were stressed at work. They were not sleeping very, very well. They were having maybe some family issues. One person in particular who was not at all happy in their marriage. And they ended up joining me for sessions 3 times a week. We were training. They ended up losing about 85 pounds. They got the confidence to leave their marriage. And I mean,
Wow.
it's a total turnaround. It is a totally different person. I mean, it was an unhappy relationship, so we
Mhm.
can't feel sorry that it ended. It was really time, but she was not ready. And this feeling of strength gave her the confidence that she needed, because it's really not just about physical strength. The physical strength that you see is sort of the physical demonstration of the change that's happening. But really and truly, when you are able to get in touch with your inner feelings and you can be strong in that, you can make some major changes in your life for the better.
Yeah, beautiful. So let's talk a little more. You mentioned the word confidence, and that just comes up in pretty much every single session that I do with women. How do you get the confidence? When did you get the confidence? Like, where is this magic pill called confidence on the counter somewhere, you know? Everybody wants
You know,
it.
doesn't exist. We know that, right? But I mean, for me, the way that I got my confidence was in taking small little steps and leaps of faith, or little steps of faith, that would build my confidence incrementally. And I think a lot of people have this idea where they think, well, I've got to make a bold move. If I've never run, as an example, if I've never run a 5 kilometer, why the heck would I want to say right away, I'm going to run a marathon next week? Eventually, of course, but like, you have to start setting these things for yourself that are achievable. And this way, when you know that it's achievable and you've managed to gain the confidence knowing that you've done it, it allows you the strength to know, okay, I did it. And then you have a reference point that you can then say, I'm about to do something else, and I managed over here. So this is actually, it's possible. I can do it. And then when you get to here, these are 2 things behind you that you've managed. And then the third thing is that much more conceivable. So the confidence gets built up that way. It's like a muscle, right? When you train yourself at the gym, you're training yourself physically for your muscles to grow, and confidence and courage, it's all like a muscle. You do little tiny things that eventually just build up that strength. And then before you know it, you're like, well, you're super confident.
Yeah, beautiful. So confidence is a building habit, not something that we just get there. I get it. So there, another question that comes to mind when you say that is, a lot of people are afraid of even taking the first step. Like it's like it requires confidence to take the leap of faith, to take the first step.
I know.
And I would say 90% or more of people don't even dare take that step.
Yeah. And I understand that. I really
Because of
do.
that, like, fear of failure or fear of something. I don't know what's there, but can you speak more to that? Like, what could motivate them, or,
You know what I think it is really? I think that it's about realizing, or looking at where you are and realizing that that is just no longer good enough for you.
Mm.
And when you realize that where you are is just no longer good enough for you, the only way to do it is just to go forward, just to get out of there, right? And of course it's scary. Any kind of change in our lifestyle or in our habits or anything like that, of course it's a scary thing. But you have to be so dissatisfied with where you are, and you have to have such a yearning to be in a better place. And that for me is really and truly the only way that you can really take that leap. Otherwise, people can stay stuck
Yeah.
for a lifetime. I mean, there's so many people that just never live out their dreams because they're so worried that, I mean, maybe they're just not dissatisfied enough,
Yeah. I can so see that. It's like the mediocre life, the mediocre way of living is like, the new norm. And it's unfortunate because there's like, also like, I've been in the yoga industry for over a decade now.
Yeah.
And I see how even yoga became a fix for that mediocrity. It's like, people are upset with their life. They're not happy with, how things are going, with that, where they're at. And then they'll just go to the yoga class. They'll just go to a little meditation, to a little something. And it gives them that immediate relief, making them feel better. And, we don't actually own, how life sucks. So I don't want to be there anymore. So you're naming a very, very important piece. And I always address that with people, how, own that. You're dissatisfied. Let's go deep into that. Let's highlight it. Let's write it out. Let's be like straight,
Well, the
face it.
truth is, yeah, what you're saying is so true. And I think it's also because we tend to distract ourselves, right? We distract ourselves with those, as you said, those instant highs in the moment. And then when you distract yourself every day, just a little bit, it kind of doesn't make the situation, the reality of the situation, feel as
Mhm.
bad. I mean, I've seen it so many times, you know, people that are not happy in their relationships or their jobs or their health, but they can stay just sort of at this level for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah.
And something major has to happen to kind of wake them up and shake them
Yeah.
into making some sort of a decision.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So the
Mhm.
next step, when they do realize that I want to change, I want things to change, they take the first step. You know, we all hear these famous stories of like lineups at the gyms, memberships on January 1st, and then
Yeah.
literally January 17th is the grand day for, you know, New Year resolutions are forgotten, you know?
Oh, yeah, it's true. It's
So
true.
the famous Quitter's Day. So how do
Yeah.
people keep on going afterwards?
Well, I think you have to always ask yourself why you're starting in the first place. And that why you're starting in the first place has to be present all winter when it's cold and you don't want to leave your house. It has to be present when you have events that you could be going to instead. It has to always be your driving force. You know, like
Mhm.
it's funny because I always tell people this. We, you know, go to our clients or, you know, patients or customers or whatever. We basically go to work every single day. We don't really question it because we have to make money. And so that's our driving force. Well, I have to make money, so therefore I have to get up in the morning at 5 or 6 a.m. and I have to drive to work through traffic and I have to stay there till 5 or 6. And then you come home and you do the same thing all over again. But when it comes to our health, unless you're really, really sick or unless you're really, really overweight and unhealthy, people don't think that they have to do it. And so it's easy to make an appointment with yourself at the gym on January 1st and by January 17th to quit because you think, I really don't look that bad. I don't feel that bad. I'm okay just the way that I am. And then before you know it, it's not a necessity for you anymore. And you just stop going. So it has to be at the top of your priority list. Like I always, for myself personally, at a time that I have so many clients, such an abundance of clients that I'm putting everybody ahead of myself, there were periods that my own training started to suffer. And for me, I felt a bit resentful in a way because for me, I mean, not only do I want to look healthy, but I also want to feel healthy. And so I started to pencil myself into my agenda and I would put Marina at 5 and Jessica at 6 and so on. And then Tina at 9. And I would put nobody else in there. I made a date with myself and I would just show up at the gym and train. And that's what I would suggest for people after January 17th to put it in your schedule, to treat yourself like you're your most important client. Just go for a walk on the treadmill if that's all you want to do, but just get into the motion and the movement of going. And then the
Yeah.
programs and stuff will come, but just get into the motion of going.
Yeah.
So,
Beautiful. Thank you for that. You're also like, you know, highlighting a very important thing here. And what I often like, you know, deal with, and I hear that women are often like, we've got so many things going, you know, we're moms, we're entrepreneurs, we've got, you know, life, social lives and all that. And like you're saying, like for some reason, like business comes first, kids come first, the husband comes first, everybody else comes first. And we're drinking from this like tiny espresso cup, whatever is left is for me and it's cold, you know? It's like we gotta shift this whole paradigm. Like,
yeah,
there's
absolutely.
something's off there, right? So
Yeah.
like you're saying, I think it's reprogramming that thinking of putting myself in the agenda, you know, investing time in myself and treating myself, you know, at least as important as my client,
Yeah.
you know, and
You used
valuing
a
that.
great word there, actually. You just said the word paradigm. And I think that's an amazing word, perfect to use in this case, because I mean, for those of you who don't know what a paradigm is, it's basically the thoughts, sort of like an obstacle that you encounter every single time you're about to make this step, a major step in your life. These old memories come back to you, these negative thoughts, you know, your own thoughts, other person's thoughts about you, just they start to bombard you. And it's like you get to a wall and now you have to make a decision. Am I going to go through the wall or am I going to stay right where I am on this comfort zone area, right? And so many people will stay in that comfort zone area and they can stay there forever if they just do not kind of crash through that wall that is the paradigm. And when it comes to weight loss, a lot of these people, many people, in fact, I'll give you the perfect example. I will not say names again, but a good friend of mine, love her to pieces. She lost 25 pounds very, very recently. And she said to me, well, you know, she says another 24 to go. And I said, okay. She said, you know, the last weight is always the hardest to lose.
Mm.
And I said to her, well, why do you think that? I said, does your body know that it's the last weight, or does your mind know that or have you decided that it's the last set of pounds that you want to lose? In other words, the body does not say, I've already lost 25 pounds. Now I'm going to make it really, really hard for you to lose the last 24. That's not how the body works. You just keep doing the same things, drink a lot of water, eat really healthy, exercise more than you sit down, and you're going to get those results. But if you tell yourself that the last 24 pounds is always the hardest to lose, then you've already set yourself up for failure. And you'll find yourself overeating. You'll find yourself missing your workouts because you expect for it to be hard. But if you just say, you know what, the 25 pounds is behind me. Congrats to me for losing it. Now I have a new 24 pounds to lose, and approach it with the same thing that you did the first time, then you're not conditioning your mind into thinking this is the last 24 pounds. No, it's the first 24 pounds of the next phase of your journey, right? So these paradigms will keep people stuck, but it's just about rewording things and reconditioning your mind.
Yeah, that's amazing. You also spoke about that earlier in our conversation about how that fear gets intensified. Like when people believe in something like that, like that's the hardest chunk, and it becomes like a huge wall to break through. And like how do people actually, like, what happens after they cross that wall?
Well,
Let's talk about that.
The wall. I think that after they crash the wall, and I mean, I can give you an example of my own personal success story, if that's okay.
Yes, of course, please.
Not from a weight loss standpoint or anything like that, or even anything fitness related, but just more. I'll give you a perfect example. Living at an old apartment. I was brought up in apartment number 207. I was there when I was 4 years old with my mom, my sister, and my dad. And my father was killed in a car accident when I was 9. I know you didn't expect that, but he was, it was a car accident. And my mom, she ended up taking care of my sister and I all the way until I was 19 years old, when my mom moved to Barbados, where my family's from, and my mother took care of my family over there. And my sister got married. So I kept the apartment, and I stayed in that apartment, not for 5 more years or 10 years. I stayed in that apartment for 38 more years.
Ooh.
So imagine, I was in the apartment for 38 years. And what ended up happening was, this place for me was like my sanctuary. Like, I would go home after a long day, and I loved just being in my space. But the apartment building had become so run down that I was embarrassed to have people over. Like, I would have been ashamed to have you come over for tea, because I did not want anybody to see the graffiti on the walls, the floors broken up. It was just not a place that I felt happy anymore. But I loved my little space for all the memories that I had. And then one day, after thinking to myself, I really got to get out of here, but making no effort to do it because I could not imagine myself anywhere else, 3 soccer player boys came to live above my head. So they were soccer players, and they were loud, and they literally ran up and down, up and down, up and down every single day for 7 months. And it got to the point that I was so like, oh, I can't do this anymore, that I had no choice but to look for something else. Now, keep in mind, that was my terror barrier, if you will, right? That was the wall. I was now at a point where I knew that I deserved better, but I was too afraid to make the leap. And so these young boys making me so incredibly uncomfortable is what forced me to go looking for other places to live. And I looked at 17 places, and nothing felt right to me. Like, it was hard for me to leave what felt like home to just move for the sake of moving. So when I finally found the 18th place, and I remember already feeling like hesitant, like, I hope nobody lives above me, and I hope that I don't hear the buses outside, and if I was like ready to like fight, just because I really was resisting this change. But when I walked in, it was a little boy who took my hand and walked me right up the stairs, and I walked in, and this is the place, hello, right over here. So like, there's the downstairs, but there's a beautiful, beautiful mezzanine up there. And when I walked in, it was like, I just looked around, and even though the rent was like double, like totally more expensive, something just gave me this peace. And I just realized in that moment, I'm ready. Like, this is it. After like almost 40 years, 38 years, I was just ready to turn the page. So since that happened, that gave me the strength within months to close my boot camp and transition into online, my online business.
Mm.
I flew to Australia for 5 months completely on my own with no place to stay, just drove around Australia, going wherever I wanted to go and whatever I wanted to see. And it's almost like every single decision that I could possibly have made all happened after I made that big one. So to answer that question, what happens on the other side of fear is just this amazing life that you cannot possibly conceive unless you actually have the strength and the courage to do it.
Wow. I'm getting all emotional here just hearing this, because first of all, I can relate so much. And we've talked about this with like other speakers as well, how it's really on the other side of fear. It's like everything is like compressed. We're in our comfort zone, in our bubble, trying to protect that. And so like fearful of what's going to happen. Am I going to die? Am I going to be judged and ridiculed and homeless? Or what is going to happen? It's going to be worse than it is. It can be.
So true.
And then when you take that leap and it's like you just unleash everything else.
Sure.
Like it's like we break through one thing, but it actually unleashes like the gift of life and the universe itself. It's like that there's such abundance and freedom on the other end that it's like multiplied. I'm touched by that. I'm like, oh my God, I just want to transmit that to all women to,
Absolutely. I think also what all women have to realize too is that although in the physical sense things will change and hopefully for the better, it's who you become that is really the reward. When I think back to who I was then, I might have still loved myself back then, but certainly there were some things that I was accepting that I will just not accept now. Like sometimes I boldly do things and I'm like, it's almost like an outer body experience. Like, whoa, where did that come from? But like back in the day, before I actually had the guts to move, I was different. I mean, we change as we grow as well, but these experiences just make you stronger. And that for me at the time, I would not have tried to welcome that as a reason to do something. Like, who wants to hear, oh, trust me, you want to take that jump because you're going to become stronger. Like nobody ever thinks about that as a bonus. But when you have taken the jump and you are stronger, you can look back at your former self and say, wow, like I'm so darn proud of myself.
Yes.
Pats on the back,
yes.
Yes.
And now you get to take your clients there with you because you broke through that threshold, it's possible. So you can take them there. And I love that and admire that so much about you and
Well, you too, Marina. Look what you're doing. What an amazing inspiration. I mean, for as long as I've known you, you've been proactively, helping women and really just, helping them to improve their lives. And I just think, thank you, first of all, for giving me this opportunity to hopefully inspire people that are watching, but just to also say that I think that you're a real huge influence, positive influence on people. And I think that's wonderful.
Thank you. One more question. We talk like you're naming this like positive influence for women and working with women. One of the things that we talked about is that old paradigm of competition around women. Like, and you totally like don't even believe in that. You never had that. You never believed in that. So can you say more about that?
Yeah, sure. I'm a believer in self-growth. So for me, as much as I try to inspire other people to grow as well, everybody has their own things to do to grow themselves. It's my responsibility to grow Tina. It's your responsibility to grow Marina. So what I'm doing should not technically have anything to do with you. If you're inspired by it, fantastic. But it's not going to compete with you or change you or, I never thought in that way where I had to almost have this wall around me and like protect everything that I'm doing. So for me, being that I've always loved helping people, I always try to think about, if you're building a business, how I can help you to make that business happen. And I never thought to myself, geez, well, somebody's going to come in and try to take my business. So for anybody that's feeling that maybe hesitation or that fear or the competition, it's a lot of undoing. See, like I was not brought up being competitive. I've never been a competitive person in that sense. For me, it's always been like, I want to do better for myself, but nobody else ever mattered to me in terms of where they were in reference to where I was. I just used everybody as inspiration. Mm-hmm. But if somebody's in a place where they're feeling a bit fearful, I always think that you have to look at everything that you've ever done that was great. It's almost like you have to make a list, maybe a list of 10 things of your greatest, most amazing achievements. Amazing, from the time that you were young to your age right now, whatever it is that you've done. And that needs to almost be your go-to. So every time you start feeling like a sense of doubt or self-worth issues, you have to look at that and you have to become your biggest fan and be like, I am amazing. Hello. I mean, like, look at this list. You know, you have to bring it out and
Yes.
show it off to yourself. And that, it comes back to that word confidence, right? If you are confident in what you have to offer and you're being true to yourself, you're not going around trying to be like somebody else, you're just offering whatever you can, then what
Mhm.
happens is all of the people that are meant to be around you will be drawn to you. And all of the people that are not drawn to you, you don't want them anyway, right? I don't
Yeah.
want anybody that's not drawn to me. It's my joy and my pleasure to work with people that are truly inspired by what I have to share. But if they're not, I would welcome them to go to somebody else.
Totally. It's
Yeah.
almost like it's ironic whenever I think about that. But when I made that shift for myself and like own my authentic voice, authentic message, my way of like teaching a yoga class or meditation class and coaching now, there is no question of competition because there is no one there like me.
So
It's
true.
totally true.
True. Yeah.
And you know, letting go and trying to please Miss or Madam everybody is gone. And there's a pull of other new people that are gravitating towards that authentic nature that we own. And it's such an honor and pleasure to be, you know, in your presence and other women who stand in their own greatness and that authentic beauty and voice that they have. So
Well,
yeah,
thank you
thank
so much
you,
for
thank you,
that.
thank you.
Wonderful.
Um, let's share with our listeners how they can connect with you. I think you also had a gift for them of like a. Can you say more about that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, anybody at all that writes to me is going to get, it's a VIP consultation. It's worth $100. You're going to get on with me online. It'll give them an online workout with me. So we're actually going to exercise together. We're going to do a nutrition assessment, and then they're going to be left with a program.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for that. And on my end, I'm also available for the next couple of weeks for a discovery call. And all our information is going to be, you know, all the links are going to be underneath these interviews. So people will have access to you and to me and the community.
That's
So
great.
yeah, Tina, thank you so much for being such a
You're
bright,
welcome.
amazing, inspirational woman in the world.
Thank
Really honor you and celebrating all of us today.
you. Have a
Thanks.
wonderful day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.